Silence. It terrifies people more than words ever could, because silence exposes truth. It reveals weakness, and it forces others to face themselves in the darkness they try to escape. What if I told you that silence, this quiet, almost invisible force, has the power to break your enemies, to protect your mind, and to give you control over every storm life throws at you? Think about it. In a world addicted to noise, silence becomes rebellion. When others scream, we choose stillness. When they expect a reaction, we give nothing, and that nothing burns deeper than anger. It unsettles, it confuses, it dominates. The Stoics understood this long ago. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, each of them mastered silence as both shield and sword. And tonight we will walk into the shadows with them. We will uncover the dark power of silence and why those who learn it become unshakable. Stay until the end, because once you grasp this truth, no insult, no betrayal, no chaos will ever hold power over you again. Subscribe now and step with me into the silence. We live in a world drowning in noise. Everywhere we turn, someone is shouting, someone is demanding attention, someone is trying to pull us into their chaos. Notifications light up our pockets. Social media screams for our approval. Opinions collide in a storm we never asked for. And in the middle of it all, we feel a quiet desperation, a subtle gnawing anxiety that grows louder every day. The noise does more than distract us. It scatters our minds, fragments our focus, and slowly erodes the calm we are meant to protect. We are losing the ability to simply sit in stillness, to observe, to think, to exist without reacting. And yet, most of us are blind to this danger. We mistake motion for progress, noise for achievement, words for truth. Every argument we engage in, every fight we pick, every rash reaction to insult or provocation feels justified in the moment, but it is stealing our power. With every fiery reply, we give pieces of our strength away. We trade our inner freedom for temporary satisfaction. Have you ever noticed how the very people who anger us leave smiling while we stew in the aftermath, restless, unsettled, haunted by the echo of our own voice? That's the world's subtle trap. It thrives on our reaction, on our inability to master ourselves. Think back to the last time someone hurt you, not physically, but with words. Did you feel that surge in your chest, the adrenaline demanding retaliation, the urge to strike back with precision? That is the mind enslaved by noise, enslaved by the expectation that it must respond, must fight, must defend. And yet, in that moment, the most terrifying power we could wield is silence. Silence disarms without aggression. Silence unsettles without effort. Silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their chaos back onto themselves while our minds remain untouched, steady, and unshakable. The true masters of life understood this centuries ago. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, spoke of silence not as emptiness, but as strength. Epictetus warned, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." Think about it. Every time we react in anger, we surrender. We hand control over to someone else. But when we cultivate silence, when we practice restraint, we reclaim it. Our calm becomes a fortress. Our indifference becomes a weapon. The world grows frantic around us, but inside we are untouchable. We become the eye of the storm, watching the chaos swirl without ever being swept away. And here lies the secret few ever notice. The world fears those who do not react. They are terrified by the calm that does not bend, the silence that does not break, the mind that does not tremble. People try to provoke, to manipulate, to dominate, but nothing works. The power of silence is dark. It is subtle, it is terrifying, and once you feel even a fraction of that power, you will see the world differently. You will hear the noise and no longer be its prisoner. But the question remains, can you truly resist the urge to speak, to lash out, to prove yourself? Can you sit in the quiet and let the world quake around you while you remain unbroken? If you can, then you are ready to step deeper into what most fear to face. We often underestimate the strength it takes to master ourselves. We think courage is in battle, in confrontation, in the grand gestures that the world applauds. But true courage lives in restraint. It lives in the silent moments when the world expects us to react, to lash out, to surrender to our impulses, and we do nothing. And that nothing is more powerful than any roar. It whispers control. It whispers freedom. The Stoics called this fortitude. Marcus Aurelius practiced it daily, reminding himself that he could not control the world, but he could control his mind. And that difference changes everything. Imagine a moment when everything around you collapses, people shouting, chaos everywhere, injustice striking like fire. You feel the pull of instinct, the desire to yell, to fight, to break. But then you pause, you breathe. You remember that every reaction feeds the storm, every word feeds the fire, every surrender feeds your own weakness. In that pause, you feel the shadow of your power. You realize that nothing in the world can touch you, not insults, not threats, not betrayal, because you have already mastered what matters most, yourself. And in that mastery, the world begins to bend without knowing it. Yet, self-control is a dark path. It asks of us things most will never give. It asks us to sit with anger, to sit with fear, to sit with despair, without acting, without fleeing, without crying out. It forces us to confront the parts of ourselves we have hidden, denied, or abandoned. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." But freedom is not given. It is forged silently in moments of unbearable tension, and the forge burns hotter than most can endure. We must ask ourselves, are we willing to walk into the fire, knowing the world will misunderstand us, mock us, even fear us for our silence? Here is the cruel truth. Those who do not control themselves are prey. They are moved by every insult, every gossip, every spark of chaos. But the silent, controlled mind is a predator. It sees, it waits, it decides. Others think they dominate us, but in reality, we dominate them. And once you taste that power, once you feel the control that comes from complete mastery of your own mind, you will never look at the world the same way again. But ask yourself this: can you sit in the shadow of your own power and let the world rage while you remain untouchable? If yes, then the next layer awaits, and it will test you in ways you cannot yet imagine. Power is not always loud. Most people believe strength is visible. They think dominance comes from yelling, from pushing, from forcing their will on the world. But the truth is, the most terrifying force is invisible. It is silent. It does not need to announce itself. It does not seek approval. It moves quietly, but everything bends before it. The Stoics understood this. Seneca warned that the mind undisturbed is more powerful than armies. And it is in the quiet moments, when others are losing control, that we strike without a single movement, without a word, without a sound. That is the dark weapon of silence. Have you ever noticed how people reveal their true selves in the absence of resistance? When we respond to insults, they become predictable. When we fight back, they feel victorious, even if we win. But when we do nothing, when we simply observe, patient, unshaken, the effect is far greater than any argument. They begin to unravel. They question themselves. They feel exposed. And all we have done is remain calm. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every day. He knew that the world seeks to provoke because it fears strength, and the strength that cannot be seen terrifies more than the one that can. Yet here is the secret most will never tell you. The invisible weapon is not for destruction alone. It is for transformation. Each moment we resist the urge to react, each pause we take before speaking, each quiet breath we draw in the midst of chaos. We are shaping ourselves. We are forging a mind unshakable. And when others expect us to crumble, when they push and prod to break us, we smile in silence. But ask yourself this: can you hold that silence even when every instinct screams at you to strike back? Because the answer to that question will determine if you remain ordinary or step into a power so deep, so consuming, that the world itself will begin to bow before your calm. We fear silence because it demands truth. It forces us to confront the parts of ourselves we usually hide. Every unspoken word carries weight. Every withheld response shapes us. And yet, most of us spill our thoughts recklessly, angry, defensive, desperate for validation, never realizing that each word lost our power. Each reaction tightened another chain around our mind. The Stoics called this discipline. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Be silent unless the words improve upon the silence." Every moment of restraint is a step toward freedom. Every pause before a reaction is a chance to sharpen the mind and fortify the soul. Think about the people around you, the ones who provoke, who insult, who seek to control you. What happens when you refuse to feed their fire? They grow restless. They panic. They search for a crack in your armor that does not exist, and that restlessness becomes their weakness. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." Power does not shout. It does not demand attention. It waits. It observes. And it acts only when the moment is undeniable. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more trustworthy friend than in himself." True calm is not emptiness. It is a presence that radiates without effort. People around us mistake it for weakness, for ignorance, for fear. But in reality, it is a force they cannot touch, a presence they cannot predict, a mind they cannot manipulate. Every pause, every breath, every choice to remain silent is a declaration that no chaos, no insult, no betrayal can dominate your inner world. Yet, here is the dark truth few are willing to face. Most will never understand this power. They will try to provoke, to push, to break your composure. And sometimes, they succeed, but only if we let them. The true test is sitting in the storm, watching everything collapse around you and feeling nothing but the calm that rises from mastery. Ask yourself this: can you remain unshaken even when the world expects you to crumble? Can you hold your silence, knowing it unsettles, dominates, and shapes everything without a single word? Because the moment you realize that your calm is your weapon, you have crossed a line most will never reach. And here's the final shadow for tonight. Once you taste that power, you will crave it. You will chase it. And when you do, the world will never look the same, and neither will you.